This video is brought to you by SoccerPro.com, bringing you all the latest soccer gear at everyday low prices with no membership fees. Don't forget to use coupon code SR4U at checkout for 10% off any order of $75 or more. Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a comparison video between the Adidas F50 adizero miCoach 2 and the Adidas F30 miCoach 2, both in leather. The F50 being the top end model and the F30 being the first takedown. So in this video I'm going to show you guys a quick close-up side-by-side comparison, giving you guys the technical specifications on both of these two shoes. We'll do a quick weigh-in as well so you can see what the weight difference is, and then of course we'll do an on-feet portion as well so you can get a better idea as to how each of these two models fit. And then I will leave you with my final thoughts, let you know which one I prefer, and give you guys some buying advice on which one is going to be the better option for you. So without further ado, let's get started. To start off with comparing the leather uppers on both the F50 and the F30, there isn't actually too much to compare when you're talking about the leather itself, mainly because both shoes feature the exact same Golio calfskin leather upper. With that being said, do both shoes have the same touch on the ball? Absolutely not. The F50 adizero has a great touch on the ball, mainly because it fits really great. The leather wraps your foot very closely, so when you make your touch on the ball, you get lots of feel. Whereas the F30 has a completely different shape and fits a lot different from the F50, and for that reason feels very, very clunky. And to be honest, this is one of very few leather shoes that I actually did not like to wear, simply because I feel like I couldn't get a good touch on the ball. I couldn't feel the ball enough, is what I should say, because the shoe just didn't fit all that great. But I'll talk about that a little bit more in the on-feet portion of this video. So, to start off with the leather itself, I'll use the F50 as an example. The quality of the leather for a high-end shoe is not the best out there, to be completely honest with you guys. It has a nice softness to it, a good thickness about it, but in terms of other shoes that are out there, other high-end shoes, it's not the best leather quality that you're going to find. But considering the lightweight construction of this boot and the quantity of leather you get on the upper itself, it definitely will do the job in providing a nice quality, traditional leather touch on the ball. So that's definitely a good thing. The cutoff points for the leather on the upper are right about here, all the way through the front midfoot, forefoot, toe box area, and then pretty much the entire instep cutting off at this seam right there are made from leather, as well as the tongue itself, and that's the same on both shoes. You got a seam there on the instep, and then the tongue is made from leather. So no difference there whatsoever. You do get, of course, these stitched on Adidas stripes that a lot of people are worried about because they are kind of a slick synthetic material, but they don't impact your touch on the ball whatsoever, so keep that in mind and act as an anti-stretch mechanism, because you will get some pretty good stretch out of both of these uppers because of the stretchiness of the leather itself. It is very, very soft. So like I said, touch on the ball, you're going to get a nice quality leather touch on the ball from the F50, lots of feel with a good amount of thickness to the leather itself, whereas the leather F30 to me feels very, very clunky, and it's hard to get a good feel for the ball unless you did have the right type of foot for the shoe, which I don't think anybody does. It just has a very odd shape about it and just doesn't fit all that well in general. But that's pretty much it as far as the uppers go, and we'll move on to a comparison of the stud patterns. Just like the uppers on both of these two shoes, they may appear to be very similar, but do not perform the same at all. If we start off with the stud pattern itself as general layout, you have your 3 studs running along the inside of the forefoot, 3 on the outside, 1 support stud in the middle, and your 4 heel studs at the back. The studs themselves are all triangular, and they vary a little bit in size as well as length, as you guys can see, but for the most part do a pretty good job of providing really good traction when playing on firm natural grass playing surfaces. Of course, the shoes are available with soft ground stud patterns as well if you are playing on softer natural grass playing surfaces. As far as the performance of the stud pattern, given that you are playing on the proper playing surface, they do dig in pretty well. You have pretty good grip when pushing off, and still plenty of maneuverability once your foot is planted. And as you guys can see, the F30 has a very similar layout. Just the studs themselves may not be as long, but not by much. The major difference here in overall performance is not necessarily the studs themselves, but it lies in the sole plate. So the sprint frame used on the F50, it's part of the reason why the shoe is so light. It's a one-piece plastic sole plate and heel counter combination, and of course it is miCoach compatible. Both of these shoes are miCoach compatible, as you guys can see. This actually provides some pretty good flexibility as well as a lightweight feel. So if I hold the shoe here, just keep in mind where these studs are when I flex the forefoot and how flexible it is. I'm going to flex them exactly the same way, grab it from the toe, flex up, and you can see how much movement you get from this stud here and that stud there in the middle. There's actually a lot of movement there, meaning that when you actually change your direction, your foot's actually going to flex and dig into the ground. So the more flexibility you get from the sole plate, the more chances of having as many studs as possible under your feet when you are pushing off. So because it is so flexible, you generally don't slip all that much. And mainly when you do slip, it's because you don't have enough studs under your feet for that particular movement. When we look at the F30 here and try and flex the sole plate, you can see that it does not flex past the first stud. So only this section here flexes, and that midfoot section right here between these two studs does not move at all. So a lot of the times when you are pushing off, you're only getting the traction of these front two studs, and these ones are kind of being left unused, which can cause you to slip a lot more frequently when you are comparing the F30 stud pattern to the F50. Now the sole plate on here is made from your standard TPU plastic, but for whatever reason it is extremely stiff from this point back on the shoe itself. I don't know why that is. There's very, very little flexibility, and you can feel it when you are running, and especially when changing direction. The shoe just does not have any kind of flexibility, and for that reason the traction is inferior in comparison to the top end F50. But that's pretty much it as far as the stud patterns go, and we'll move on to a quick weigh-in so you can see what the weight difference is between both of these two models. Part of what makes the F50 series so popular is the lightweight construction of the boot. But what a lot of people don't realize is that none of the takedown models in the F50 series are actually lightweight like the top end F50 adizero is. So for the sake of comparison, we're going to compare the F30 and the F50 in weight in real time. Keep in mind that both of these pairs are size 9 US and are used, so this is a very fair comparison. So we're going to throw the F50 on the scale first, and you can see that it weighs in at 7 ounces exactly. Very lightweight. I'll take this off the scale and I'll throw on the F30. And you can see that it weighs in at 10.3 ounces, which is slightly above average for a modern day soccer shoe. And if you are buying into the F50 adizero concept, where you want the lightest possible shoe, you really should not be looking at the F30 because it's not a lightweight shoe at all. And if you're having a hard time picturing what 10.3 ounces is, I'll take this off the scale, and I grabbed a PowerCat 1.12 here. This is not the SL version, as you guys can see. Again, a size 9 US used pair, so very fair comparison. I'm going to throw this on the scale, and you can see that it weighs in at 10.15 ounces. So it's actually slightly lighter than the F30. This is a shoe that nobody considers to be lightweight, whereas the F30, people are under the impression that they're buying something that's light like the adizero, and that's just not the case at all. So if you want the lightest shoe possible, go for the F50. If you want something that's not lightweight, then I guess you could go for the F30, but just don't buy this shoe with the idea that you're going to have a lightweight soccer shoe. That's pretty much it as far as the weigh-in portion goes, and I'll move on to a quick on feet so you can get a better idea as to how both of these two models fit. Alright, here's a look at the F50 and the F30 on feet, and as I mentioned earlier, the F30 just has a very poor, very sloppy fit, especially for a shoe that retails over $100. We start off with the F30 itself. It almost makes my foot look very wide, and I have about an average width foot. The reason for that is because the sides of the shoe are very, very low. They don't come up all that high. So you can see when I pull the laces tight, it doesn't really have enough slack to wrap over my foot, which is somewhat unusual because the shoe itself doesn't actually fit all that tight. There's some pretty adequate room through the midfoot. It's not overly narrow at all. And the toe box and forefoot area, especially in comparison to the top end F50, is a lot wider. Especially after you give the shoe some time to break in, it gets even wider and makes the fit even that much more sloppy, which is definitely not a good thing. Normally with a leather shoe, you want it to fit tighter out of the box so it stretches to fit your feet, but this one fits wide from out of the box and gets wider after you break it in, which is definitely not what you want. The major issue I have here, though, the biggest issue, is definitely the fit in the heel and ankle area. It fits extremely shallow. It almost feels as if I put a heel lift there to where my foot can't go into the shoe deep enough, and almost like my heel is going to fall out of the boot. You can see how much of the True Socks pads are actually sticking out, which is somewhat unusual, and at all times I feel like my heel is falling out, and for that reason as well, you are going to get some heel slippage, which could lead to some blisters in the long run. So that's pretty much it as far as the F30 goes, and I'll move on to the F50 itself. Fits really well, has a tighter fit from right out of the box, and once you do get some time to break them in, they do stretch and form to your feet very, very nicely and have a very good fit overall. This shoe fits me really well. I like it. It's very comfortable, especially considering how lightweight it is. And of course, it fits great in the heel and ankle area as well. It's pretty minimalistic as far as the amount of padding you get, but it is low cut, but it still hugs your heel very, very nicely and keeps everything locked in place. As far as sizing goes, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US in both of these two shoes, and that is the size that I would recommend if you are looking to buy either the F50 or the F30. Stick with your regular size and you will have a good fit in the length of the boot. But that's pretty much it as far as the on-feet portion of this video goes, and I'll leave you to my final thoughts. Alright guys, that's it for my comparison of the F50 and the F30. It's pretty safe to say that by far the better of the two is the F50, especially if you are looking for that lightweight feel and want that nice leather upper. The leather version is a great option if you want a more barefoot feel, closer to the foot. Definitely take a look at the synthetic version as well. Whereas the F30 is a shoe that I just can't recommend for what I feel are pretty obvious reasons if you did watch this video. Just not a good option overall, especially for a retail price of over $100. Even on sale, I still think there are better options out there in similar price points. So if you do want more information on either of these two shoes, you will find full reviews linked down below in the description. That'll give you more information as to how each of these shoes fit, feel, and perform if you do want more details. You'll also find on those review pages the high quality images, as well as buy it now links with the best prices online, including some exclusive SR4U coupon codes to get you some additional discounts if you are interested in ordering a pair for yourself. Any questions you guys have regarding either of these two shoes, feel free to leave your comment down below. And if you guys could leave a like on the video as well, it would be greatly appreciated. If you did enjoy today's video and you're not subscribed already, be sure to hit that subscribe button for daily videos on all the latest soccer gear. Any questions you guys have not related to the video, go ahead and ask that on the SR4U Facebook fan page, which you can find linked down below in the description. And if you guys want to follow me on Instagram as well, my Instagram account name is VujoJosh. Just like this channel name, you can go ahead and look me up, or again, the link can be found down below in the description. Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.